Hello, security pros. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on today's ESA webinar, Simplify Your Job, Work Smarter with Access Tools and Solutions. Today, we're joined by an Access end-to-end expert, Mitch Mershon, who will dive into the Access Camera Station Integrator Suite. When your customers are in the market for a video surveillance system, there are many options to choose from. But the question is, how do you decide? At this point, tools and support should be top of mind. In just a moment, I'm going to pass it off to Mitch, who's going to talk through how you can be more structured and efficient in the sales process. We'll also cover the definition of end-to-end solutions, an overview of Access Camera Station Integrator Suite, a demo of Access Site Designer. This is an award-winning tool that simplifies and streamlines your design and quotation workflow, making projects easier to create, revise, and more importantly, win and implement. And he's also going to show us the auto configuration tool. I'm Jillian Bateman, ESA's Chief Development Officer, and I'll be facilitating our discussion today. Before we dive in, I do have some tips for those of you joining us on your very first ESA webinar. All callers will be muted for the duration of this session, but that doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. At any time, click in the Q&A button at the bottom of your control panel to pose a question. There's no need to save those questions until the end of today's presentation. If something pops up, go ahead and ask it, and I'll ensure that we save enough time with our expert to address all of your questions today. We'll also be recording today's webinar, so you can watch the on-demand video at your leisure and share it with your colleagues. Just give us until tomorrow to get the video exported and hosted on the ESA website. And you don't need to search for it. We'll send you an email thanking you for your attendance with a link to the email or a link to the video in it. We at ESA realize your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending some of that time with us today. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mitch Mershon. Mitch is a business development manager responsible for driving Access's end-to-end solutions initiatives. This includes product launches, daily management, forecasting, and coordinated activities with sales and marketing. For nearly a decade, Mershon has partnered on the value of solution selling, providing valuable skills for expanding a system beyond a single product to deliver value to the end user. Mitch, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you very much, Jillian. Really appreciate the time and everyone being here. I am going to go ahead and turn my video off as well. As you can imagine, we're all trying to conserve a little bit of bandwidth, but at least wanted to let you all put a face with a name. So with that, what I would like to go ahead and do is just go ahead and get started with our presentation here. So again, I'm here to help you simplify your job by working smarter with our tools and our solutions from Access. So let's just go ahead and jump right in then. So the first thing we want to talk about is just making sure that you understand, again, what we're going to be talking about today. So the first thing that we want to talk about is what is an end-to-end surveillance solution. We'll talk about why you would want to partner with Access for one of these solutions. And then we want to get into the tools that are going to help you, again, work smarter, more efficiently, and more effectively with one of our solutions. And then, as always, we'll wrap up with a Q&A. But first off, I'd like to start with a poll. What we want to understand is just, have you sold an Access end-to-end solution before? So partnering with Access, have you sold beyond more than just selling a camera? Have you gone in and started to sell the video surveillance piece with an NVR or with our audio solutions? So have you sold that more than once, only once, or just getting ready to have that first sale? And we'll just give you a few minutes or a few seconds here to vote. Perfect. All right, so it looks like we have a lot of people who are going to be our first timers. So we're going to get you a whole lot of information on what we can actually do to help get you going. So let's get moving. So first off, the big question, what is an end-to-end surveillance solution? Well, the necessary components for an end-to-end surveillance solution are having the cameras, the recording solution, so that's going to be your hardware, your NVR, and the video management software. That's what defines an end-to-end surveillance solution. But you can also tack on a lot of different other pieces from the manufacturer. So this could be tying in audio solutions. So if you've worked with any of our horn speakers or our brand new miniature speaker, you know that being able to add in audio for announcements, for background music, that can really add a layer to the project that you're working on. We also talk about entry management solutions. So whether this is working with our A1001 for actual door control, or with one of our door stations where you press the button and you get bi-directional communication, but you can still also unlock a door. Or something a little bit more complex, maybe like one of our radar solutions, for which are great for perimeter defense. But the key to an end-to-end surveillance solution is that all of the components come from a single vendor. So you'll be able to source all of these products and all these technologies through Axis. So the core of an end-to-end solution, though, it starts at the VMS, the video management software. And you might not know, but Axis actually has two different VMSs that you can choose from. First is Axis Companion, which is a more simple tool to be able to work with. It's going to still be able to provide you all of your basics with a video management system, but it's also going to have the great benefit that it's a free software. But let's say you need a little bit more advanced functionality. We also have Axis Camera Station, which is going to provide you next level security. So now we're going to take a real quick dive into each of these two products to be able to understand a little bit more of which one might fit your needs. So Companion is designed to be very simple. It's easy and intuitive, and it's going to be able to help you with remote access to your video. So this is going to have a few limitations where you're going to be limited to 16 cameras per site, and they must be Axis cameras. But this will also provide you with a mobile app to freely view your video. You can get alert push notifications. So let's say that there's motion after 10 p.m. at your small office. You're going to be able to get a push notification to your phone for that. And it also now supports multi-site setup as well as tying in with our audio. So again, some limitations with not working with third-party products. So this would be working only with Axis cameras and a limited number of cameras per location. But this is great for those smaller locations, the small doctor's offices, retail locations where there's not a lot of need for advanced security. They just need a video system that's going to record the video, play back the video, and be able to export the video and access it remotely. Companion is going to be a perfect opportunity for you. But let's say you need a little bit more. That's where Axis Camera Station can step in. And if you haven't seen Axis Camera Station in the past year, then you definitely need to take another look at it. Axis Camera Station has actually been around for a number of years, but we've put a lot of investment, time, energy, and money into the product to bring it up to where it is today. And I'm very proud to have seen where it has come. So it's going to provide you that tab-based interface, and it's a responsive interface, meaning everything that we do, as soon as you click the button, you're on to your next piece. It also allows for multi-server connectivity. So if you have a project that has 3 or 4 locations, or actually has a very large number of cameras at a single location, and you need to distribute that across multiple servers, you can view all of the cameras from all your servers simultaneously. And that can be set up in a customizable view to where you can have, again, multiple cameras up from different locations. That can be bringing in a web page. That could be bringing in a map. As you can see, we have interactive maps. So what that allows you to do is to have an on-premise guard be able to quickly and easily see where a camera is pointing and quickly navigate to be able to pull up the cameras as they're needed. But those are the features that I kind of call expected now within the VMS space. So what about Axis Camera Station is unique? Well, first off, we have a powerful rules engine in the back end. And what that does is that's like saying if then. If something happens. So let's say you have a simple setup of, we just want to know if motion occurs on a camera, then we want to record at a higher frame rate. It could be very simple like that, or it could be much more complex. So let's say that a person moves from one zone in a radar over to another zone after 10 p.m., which is a restricted zone. Well, now we can have Axis Camera Station turn on a light, play an announcement over a horn speaker, send an email to a guard, and then also pop up live video on a separate screen. So it's all about the needs of the end user, but you can see that we can start to tie in multiple technologies together to be able to provide a more robust security solution. Also, we have action buttons, which are just a way to manually trigger any of those rules. So if you have someone who is actively monitoring the system, they can press a button and unlock a door or turn on a light. But the best part about that is those action buttons are also available in the mobile app. Whenever I do a full demonstration in the camera station, I'd like to be able to show people I press a button and I actually turn on a light or unlock a door over in Sweden, which shows our ability to be able to work on a global scale. We also have put a lot of emphasis on audio. So being able to have bidirectional audio is a huge piece. So bidirectional audio, I mean that I can, from my laptop or from my mobile phone, talk down to someone at a location, but then if there's a microphone there, they can also talk back to me and we can have a full line of communication. And then I can decide whether I want to let that person in or if I'm just telling them that they should not be on our premises and that we're getting ready to call the authorities. We also have a basic incident reporting engine. What this allows us to do is pull together a full case of video, of snapshots, of notes, and then have that exported over to a secure external location. So just in case something does happen at the location of the server, the information can be stored elsewhere. Now, one of my favorite features of Access Camera Station is video redaction. This is huge if you ever do any work inside of the healthcare or K-12 markets. What video redaction allows us to do is provide a mask over video before it's exported. So instead of having an area where you just cannot see the video and the video isn't recorded, now what you can do is you can protect the identity of the innocent. So again, inside of healthcare, we have all the laws with HIPAA. Inside of K-12, you're dealing with a lot of underage students. So now you're able to cover the identity of those who aren't involved in the incident. So let's say that you have to show the video publicly. You can protect the identity of those not involved in the incident, but also still be able to show exactly what you want. But we know on the back end that if that video is ever needed, we have the unredacted version also available for export. Now, if you've worked with Access before, you've probably used Device Manager. Device Manager lets you manage firmware, IP addresses, and do some basic maintenance for all of your devices. Well, now we've actually integrated that into Camera Station. So instead of having to run two programs separately, you have one program to be able to control your entire solution. And last but certainly not least, we know Active Directory has become a huge way of managing users, especially as you get up beyond a couple locations. Now we have Active Directory integration, and that's how we can manage our users very simply and easily. So we know that video has to record somewhere with Access Camera Station. So with Camera Station, we offer two lines of recorders. We have our S11 series, which has a on-site hardware replacement. This is a really cool benefit of going with this line. So these are Dell units, so we can actually get a Dell representative out on site the next business day if there's some type of hardware failure. But these are really designed to scale. So we can add on extra licenses whenever you bring the system online. Now, on the opposite side of this is the S22s. The S22s are perfect for net new opportunities where there's no pre-existing infrastructure for network infrastructure. So that could be you're ripping out an analog system or it's just a brand new building. And the reason I say these are perfect for that is because these have an integrated PoE switch in them. So now instead of having to manage a switch and a server, you have one device. Now, a couple cool things about our appliances. First off, all the licenses are included and there are no recurring fees. So that is a very nice piece. Whenever you take a look at our servers, take the last two digits, and that's how many licenses are going to come pre-installed on the server. If you need to add on additional licenses, you can see down there at the bottom, we only have two different types of licenses. One is a core license, and that's what comes with our units. And that core license allows you to connect any Access or 2N device to Access Camera Station. If it doesn't say Access or 2N on it, then you will need to use a universal license. And again, Access Camera Station has the ability to work with any OnVIF Profile S device. So you can bring in any legacy third-party devices into Camera Station. And if you haven't read the news lately, one thing to point out is that now all of our servers come with a 5-year warranty standard. They used to come with a 3-year that you could extend to 5 years. Now we have 5 years included on all of our S-Series products. So that's great news for you. So now, just beyond taking a look at the software and the hardware, why would you want to go with an Axis end-to-end solution? Well, we're going to give you 5 reasons, but we can think of a whole lot more. First off, they're perfectly matched. The way I like to describe this is, think of the old adage that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Because all of the products are from Axis, they're designed to work together so you can get the best out of every component. And you know that if you're working with Axis, you're getting a quality product anyways. So now, from the camera to the VMS to the client and the software, all of them are designed with the same quality that you would see from just working with one of our cameras. Along those same lines, you know that working with our cameras is straightforward. It's very simple. They are designed to be easy to work with. And they're also scalable. So we have our A caps. So if you want to be able to put an analytic on a camera, no problem. Go ahead and add it on. And now that's also going to be able to work with Axis Camera Station as well. So again, that simplicity and scalability is a great reason to work with our end-to-end solutions. Now, another thing that we definitely want to talk about, since this is kind of one of the main topics of this presentation today, is our array of free tools. You might have worked in the past with product selector or accessory selector. Now we're starting to combine those tools into one, and that we'll talk about that with our Integrator suite, because we'll also talk about our validated stress testing as well as our system health monitoring. All of these are going to be freely available to you, either publicly or as soon as you get one of our licenses or our demo equipment. Another thing is, we like to be very straightforward when we're working with you. There aren't hidden fees. So we've made our licensing structure about as simple as you possibly can. There are no feature tiers. So it doesn't matter how many clients you want to connect, how many users you want to connect, how many servers you're going to be bringing in, how many cameras you're going to be bringing in, or what features you need. There's only a core and a universal license. And again, that's based on what type of device you're bringing in. So that makes it very simple. We also don't have any service level agreements. So we're not going to come knocking on your door in a year or 3 or 5 to say, if you want your software to continue working, you've got to pay us again. And along those same lines, we don't have any upgrade fees. So if you want the latest version of Axis Camera Station, go ahead, right up to our website, download it, install it, and away you go. But I think one of the most important things whenever we're talking about an end-to-end solution is you have one point of contact. Again, the cameras, the NVR, even the switch, we have our own line of switching, as well as the client and the VMS, all from one manufacturer. And you know, again, if you've worked with us in the past, our technical support is award-winning and they're amazing to work with. And now you can imagine they're even more effective because they're trained on our entire portfolio. Whereas if you were kind of piecemealing things together from different manufacturers, the camera manufacturer might tell you that it's a problem with the VMS. The VMS might tell you it's a problem with the switch. But whenever you're on the phone with a full end-to-end solution from Axis, that's going to lead to shortened resolution time because, again, there's no fingers to point, no separate numbers to call. And the best part is it's also one 1-800 number. You press 1 for sales, for your pre-sales support. You press 2 for your installation support, and you're done. Makes it very, very simple to work with. So as I mentioned in point number 3, we want to talk about what is our Axis Camera Station Integrator suite. So what is this suite of tools that I've been talking about? But again, first, I want to have another quick poll for you. So have you worked with the Axis Site Designer before? So is that a yes, a no, or never heard of it? And we'll give you, again, just a couple seconds to answer that question. All right, so we have a lot of people that have not yet worked with it. We have a number that have, and then even a few that haven't heard of it. So great, we have a great mix to be able to go through and really jump into why you would want to use Site Designer and the Integrator suite. So first, let's draw a clear differentiation. The Integrator suite is a set of tools, of which Site Designer is one of them, that are going to help you throughout the entire sales process. So what I mean by this is from sales to installation, testing, management, all the way back to the design. That's what all of these tools are designed to help you with. Now, a number of manufacturers might have a sales tool or some type of system health monitoring, but we believe that our offering of all of these tools working together with one another in harmony, that is a key differentiator whenever you're working with Axis. So what are these tools going to help you do? Well, first off, they're going to help you design and install faster. And we'll get into that here in just a couple minutes. But we're also going to reduce purchasing and configuration errors by being able to have all the part numbers pulled for you, a bill of materials auto-generated. That's going to cut down on, instead of having to go through and look at spec sheets and try and match part A to part B, now it's going to be all automated for you. And what all this is going to do is it's going to help you build longer lasting customer relationships. We all know that it costs a whole lot less to keep a partner than it does to get a new one. So we're going to be able to help you through this entire process. If you do it right, you know that the next time that your end customer needs another camera or needs a new technology added in, they're coming back to you because you provided them a great sales experience throughout the entire project. And also, if you aren't currently doing it, we're going to offer you some ways to generate some new sources of income. So this is by adding in value-added services such as doing the system health monitoring, but also being able to add in new system capabilities. So whenever you can now offer video analytics, you can tack on and get the full revenue potential out of every project. Instead of just selling in the cameras and the NVR, now you can sell in access control. You can sell in analytics, radar, decoders, all of these other pieces, because again, it's like working with Legos. They all just work together. So now let's take a look at the components of the Integrator suite. So the first one that, again, most people are most familiar with is going to be Site Designer. So if you ask what's in a name, well, Axis Site Designer, it's a tool to help you build Axis sites. So we'll go through and do a quick demonstration of Site Designer. So we'll get through these slides here very quickly, but as an overview, what we can do is it's going to help you at the base level, help select your cameras. So just by going through and talking about and inputting information about the scenario, like how far away do you want to be able to recognize someone? Do you need to have IR? Does it need to be vandal resistant? By answering those questions, it'll take our entire product portfolio and narrow it down to only those cameras that meet your needs. Based on that, after you select your camera, we all know that not all mounts work with all cameras and vice versa. So whenever you go through, all you have to do is say, all right, I'm going to mount this on a wall. And Site Designer will say, here are all of the wall mounts that work for this camera. So we talked about reducing some of those possibilities of purchasing errors. This is one of the best ones because, again, now you're not flipping through all of your spec sheets to figure out which mount to use. On top of that, if you log in to Site Designer, you will see the MSRP of the cameras. So if you're going through, instead of having to flip through one of our catalogs or call your distributor of choice to figure out the price of a camera, you can look and go, okay, I know that my end user, they can afford an M series, but a Q series is going to be out of their reach because of being able to see that MSRP. Now we go through it and we set up our cameras. So what we're actually doing is we're going to go through and tell it how often we're expecting to see motion. How many days are we wanting to keep our video? What are the frames per second? What resolution are going to be recording at? And after that, it will automatically configure our storage requirements as well as our bandwidth requirements. And that's great because that then ties into selecting the recording hardware and software. Not only is it going to help you specify which hardware and what storage requirements you need, again, it can also help you pick out the correct switch to be able to provide that full end-to-end solution all from one interface. And again, all of this is guided. So you don't have to be an expert in networking or in the calculations. You can easily have Site Designer help you through that. So this is where I get to put on my Billy Mays hat and say, but wait, there's more, because Site Designer goes above and beyond helping you just pick out the right products. It's going to start providing you documentation. So we can start out with a bill of materials. The best part about this is you can export this bill of materials, send that over to your distributor of choice, and now they can import it and do a project registration for you. But if you want, you can also go ahead and do a quote on your own. We also go through and have our installation details report. So one of the things I didn't mention, as you're going through and picking out your cameras, you can put in installation notes. So you can say that, you need to mount this camera above the front entrance and you're drilling into brick. Make sure you've got your masonry bits. We know that one of the hardest transitions of a project is from the sales and design team's head over into your installation team. They might not always have the information. They get out on site. They're trying to call the sales team to figure out something. Now, all of the information is documented in a nice, simple PDF. It shows all of the devices and the accessories that are going to be a part of the project. So before they go out on site, they can do one last double check to make sure they have all the products that they need. And now, again, they also have all the information that they need as well. The last piece, and probably the most important, because I think it's very cool and very tangible in terms of time savings, is, and we'll show this here as we get into the demonstration, the Axis Camera Station installation file. So all the information that we put in about the profile of the camera, so being able to have the camera name, the recording profile, names, the frames per second, days of storage, all of that can then be imported into Axis Camera Station. So now, instead of having to change 5 different settings individually across all of your cameras, now all you have to do is select it from a drop-down and you're ready to go. Talk about a time savings as well as reducing the possibility for errors. This is something that's very unique to Axis. So how do we make that work? Well, whenever we get inside of inside of Site Designer, you'll see that I can generate a code or download a file. That then gets imported into Axis Camera Station. That pulls up this little interface right here where we can, again, input the camera name. All we have to do is match the camera name from a drop-down to the thumbnail that we get of the camera, and then it will automatically configure the camera name, the recording profile, and the schedules for the camera. So that is a huge time savings. Also, another thing that I think is very unique to Axis is our installation verifier. Our installation verifier is a stress test that Axis Camera Station can run on the entire solution. So it's only going to work with Axis cameras because what we do is we upload a small little ACAP, small little program to the cameras that says, open up the floodgates. Because think about this, if you do an installation at a school, you do the installation during the summer when no kids are there. So you pull up all your cameras at the end, you see that they're all recording, you're good to go. But the first day of school, all the kids come back, you might be getting a call saying the system isn't performing properly because you weren't able to test it in the scenario that's going to normally be operating in. But now with the installation verifier running a stress test, it stress tests the network, the hard drives, the processor, the RAM, everything. But it also provides a great peace of mind document. What it does is it goes through and it shows all of the settings for the devices. So all of the cameras, you can see the resolution, the frames per second, and you also get a snapshot of the camera. This is great documentation for you to hand off to the end user, as well as keeping for your own records in case they call you back and say the system isn't working properly. You know how the system was set up day one, and you can always go back out on site to double check to make sure that it's still set up in the same way. And last but not least is our system health monitoring. This is a cloud-based application which lets you monitor the health of the system. You can see a history of what cameras have gone on and offline. You can see if there's any firmware updates. And you're able to get a general report on what's the status of the system, and you can get that emailed over to you. So the best part about system health monitoring is it's included with Axis Camera Station. So we provide this to you, the integrator, and then you can use this to generate recurring monthly revenue by offering a service level agreement or a service management contract that says, Mr. and Mrs. End User, we will monitor your cameras. So if something goes offline, we as the integrator will know before you know that it's even gone offline. So we can start troubleshooting. That's great peace of mind, especially for smaller operations that don't have someone always watching their video. The worst thing you can have happen as an integrator is that the incident happens at the end user's site, you get a call, they can't pull down the video for some reason, the police are there looking for the video, and the camera's been offline, or the entire system has been offline for a week or a month, and they didn't know about it. But now you will be able to offer them that peace of mind that you are watching it, and again, put a little extra money in your pocket on every project. So that is a real quick introduction to our integrator suite. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to jump over into my web browser here, and I'm going to pull up Site Designer. So again, Site Designer is a publicly free available tool. You can go right now to sitedesigner.axis.com and start using it. The one thing that I would recommend is making sure that you have a My Axis account, because everything that we do inside of Site Designer is going to be stored and tied directly to that account. So you will then be able to access it from any other system that you log in with, whether that's your tablet, whether that's just somebody else's laptop. You'll be able to access all of your projects from there. So what I want to do real quick is just go through, we're going to add in a quick project here. And at any point, if you want to see a more in-depth demonstration, because we can do an hour-long demo, please feel free to reach out to us at Axis and we'll walk you through the entire setup. But the first thing we want to do is just give our project a name. So this is my Mitch's project. And we can go through and set up where we are. We can talk about scenarios very quickly. So a scenario is just providing information about what the camera is going to be looking at. So in this case, we'll just call this one our new scenario. And we can take a look at what the scene is. So whenever we talk about looking at a scene, we're talking about the complexity of the image, how much motion we're expecting to see. Is it going to be something like an emergency exit? If it's an emergency exit, our zip stream will compress the video very well, so you can get a lot of savings whenever it comes to your storage requirements. But you can imagine something like a busy station where you have signs changing and people moving around all the time. That can take up a whole lot more space. We can then go through and state whether we're doing motion or continuous recording, and we can set up the recording profile. So we know maybe 25 frames per second is a bit much. Let's drop that down to 12 frames per second on motion recording at the camera's maximum resolution. And we're going to leave all of our video encoding and compression at the default values. And if we wanted to, we could do a mixture of motion and continuous recording. We can also talk about how much live viewing is going to be done. So again, we're getting very granular whenever we talk about all of our calculations for our network requirements. Also, we definitely want to make sure that we update our days of storage. So we start with just a week, but often you're going to see 30 days, 31 days being the average storage requirements. So again, we can set up a number of different scenarios. A lot of times what we'll see is someone have their inside cameras on one schedule and one profile, outdoor cameras on another, and then maybe some high interest cameras that are recording continuously at a high frame rate. And we can set up multiple different schedules if we wanted to as well. So now we've got all of our scenarios and our schedule set up. Again, the biggest thing that people use Site Designer for is going through and selecting our cameras. So you also see over here, we have our other devices. So you can bring in our encoders, our F-series modular cameras, our speakers, and even more if we want to get into access control. But today we're going to take just a quick look at adding in a camera. So again, Axis has a huge portfolio of cameras. So at times it can be kind of daunting to try and figure out which camera that you want to use. So as you can see up here in the top right-hand corner, it says we have 236 cameras to select from. And right now we have 171 that meet the requirements that we have. So that's being able to detect a person. So that's 8 pixels per foot at 23 feet out. But let's say that we need something with a little bit better resolution than that. So let's say that we have at 50 feet out, we're looking at a parking lot and we want to be able to recognize. So we want 40 pixels per foot at 50 feet out. Okay, now we can go through and we can see immediately that we've dropped from 170 cameras down to 34. But 34 is still quite a few to choose from. So what else can we do to narrow that down? Well, now you can start to go through and select from a number of other different filters to be able to figure out, well, I know that I need built-in IR because I want to be able to see at night and we don't necessarily have the best lighting. So now what we can see is, again, we've gone from 34 down to 18. And let's go ahead and say that we know we need this to be a vandal-resistant camera as well. So now if I scroll down, you can see our top recommendations. So we can see that we have what we kind of call our good, better, best. So our M series will meet all of our requirements. Our P series adds on a couple extra layers with having light finder built in. Or we can go all the way up to our Q series, where it's higher resolution. It's got the electronic image stabilization. It's got a lot more bang for your buck. But we also know, we could take a look down here and see, okay, this camera is only $469 MSRP versus almost $1,100. So we know to keep the price where we need it, we're going to go ahead and select our M42. So also, if we want to, we can pull up our data sheet for this as well. So if we're trying to pull together a full documented plan, we can do that. Or I could just go ahead and click Add. Now, typically, you're going to want to give this a new name. So we're going to call this our front door. And you can see that I have my scenario here. So our scenario is showing us that based on everything that we had input, we're going to need 566 gigs of storage for this camera, as well as 9.39 megabits per second. Now, to show you the differences between the scenarios, if I flip that over to our outdoor scenario, you can see that our storage is cut by 90%. That's because we went from 30 days of storage down to just 7 days of storage. So you really need to make sure you've got your scenarios all squared away, because that's going to have a large impact on the ability for Site Designer to be able to go through and get you your storage and bandwidth requirements. Now, another thing I want to point out is I've got a few different little icons over here. So the first thing that we can do is we can pick our accessories. So again, this is one of my favorite pieces because matching a mount to a camera can be an absolute pain. So let's say that we're going to be mounting this camera to a pole. Well, now we're going to say that our basic mounting is included, but then you might want to go ahead and toss on this universal mount. Or if we change that over to a wall, the mount is going to be included, but we can then go through, and these are all the other options that we have available to us. So maybe we want one of our wall mounts here. And if we wanted to, we could go through and add on a dual camera mount or our J-Box gang plate. We can also go through and add on any of our accessories. So if you need a PoE extender, anything along those lines, we're going to be able to bring those in as well. And if there were any accessories for the wall mounts. We could also talk about adding in any of our A caps. So you can see here if we wanted to add on fence guard or motion guard or any of our others like our people counter, we would be able to add that in here as well. The last thing, again, we talked about being able to add in our notes. So we're going to say we're mounting on brick, bring your masonry bits, because again, if they don't know that they're mounting in a brick and don't have their bits, now they got to pack back up, go back to the office, run to the local hardware store, pick up some new bits, and we all know that that costs time, and time is money. So now we're being able to provide more detailed information to the operator or to the installation team. So this is a huge win for you. Now, the other thing that we could do is, let's say you're very familiar and you know exactly which cameras you want to add into the system. Well, in this case, I know that I need to add in a P3717, and we're going to add in 2 of those. And you'll see here in just a minute why I'm doing this. So we're going to say that this is the hallway camera. This is our back door camera. And then we're going to go ahead and add in just one more P3719, and that's going to be, we'll just leave that as our new camera. So now we've fleshed out, we've got a bunch of different cameras. And again, if we wanted to, we could go through and add in some speakers, we could add in encoders, all of the other materials. But now we've got our cameras selected. Now we need to, again, video has to record somewhere. So what are we going to have set up? The nice part is that Site Designer does all of our calculations for you, so we can see how much bandwidth we need, how much power we need, how many ports we need. And it will actually go through and say, all right, here are a few options for you. So you don't even have to go through and do anything. You can just go ahead and say, this S2208, that's the perfect solution for me. I get green check marks across the board. You can see that everything updates, and it will actually even tell me how much extra power I have, how many extra ports that I have. And you can go through and do this with an S11, an S22, a companion, or if you're working with one of our great partners like Milestone or Genetech, we've actually pulled in their product portfolio from a server perspective to be able to go through and work with them as well. But if we wanted to, we could also go through and make a customized solution. But in this case, we're just going to say our S2208 is going to be the perfect fit for this. Now, if we wanted to, we could go through and add in some system accessories. That could be working with something like adding in bird spikes or a joystick or controller. Now we can also go through, we know that as Axis, we don't sell everything. So we don't sell cable, we don't sell the monitors to you, we don't rent you a scissor lift. But if you know that you're going to run into some type of piece of software or hardware or rental like that, you can actually go through and type that in here. So we're giving you the option to say, all right, rental of scissor lift. And if you have a back-end part number, call that 12345. That's an installation service. You can go through and add that in, and then we'll also say labor. That's billing 2345. That's an installation service, and that'll just be one. So now we're being able to be your one-stop quotation spot as well. So now one of my favorite features of Integrator Suite and of Site Designer is our mapping. So mapping is new to Site Designer if you haven't been logged in, or for those of you that didn't know about it. What this is going to allow us to do is to be able to plot our cameras. So all I have to do is come to add a new map, and I can either upload a floor plan. So let's say you've got something downloaded, or if we wanted to, we could specify a map location in Google Maps. But in this case, we're just going to go ahead and upload our floor plan. It's going to open up our option here. And if I wanted to, I've got a number of different floor plans I could select from. So I'm just going to pull up this one right here, give it our name, and this is our DC AEC. So if you're in the Washington, DC area, you could always stop in and see our team there. And this is the floor layout that you'd be seeing there. Then all you have to do is set a scale. So we're basically saying from point A to point B is how far. And in this case, we're going to say that that's about 50 feet. And what that allows us to do is get very detailed whenever we're setting up our cameras. So now that, again, we have our layout here, I come over here to our devices and we can start dropping our cameras on the locations. So you can see that we actually get a field of view. And in this case, this is one of our multi-sensor cameras. And now we are able to go through and select and show where the camera is pointing, and we get a field of view coverage. So as you can see, I can extend it out and we're getting the desired area of interest. So you can see right here, there's still this white spot right here. What that is, that shows the camera's blind spot. So we would be able to work with that. Also, if we go through and continue to expand it out, we can get actually very, very high pixels per foot. So you can see that we're still getting that coverage, but all the way out there, we're only getting 14 pixels per foot. So we can bring that in. And again, now we're getting that 90 pixels per foot that we really wanted to see. So we also know that as awesome as all of our technology is, we can't see through walls. Not yet. I don't know if they're working on that over in Sweden or not. But what we can do is we can, you see this little button here that says draw a blocker. So all I have to do is click and point there, click and point here, and then we'll go ahead and add the blocker over there and we finish. And now you see that that camera is not able to see through those locations. But if we were to point it more over in this direction, you can still see that the field of view updates for the camera. So this is great for whenever you're trying to really pull together that great presentation for the end user. You can really wow them by being able to show them what their maps are going to look like. Now, also what we can go through and do, I mentioned the sales quote, so you can see here's all of our MSRPs. And one of the cool pieces that we just added in actually over the past couple of weeks is being able to add your own logo to all of the bills of materials and the sales quotes. So you can see I added a little picture myself here because my company doesn't have my own logo, but we're now able to put that on there. And you can see we can easily copy over our MSRP if that's the way you want to quote it, or if you want to add on a couple points, you can copy over the MSRP, and now you can see that everything is being done for you. Now, you will have to go through on your own and be able to input your quote price for your running of your scissor lift. We'll say that's 200, and the labor for the entire project is going to be 3,000. Now you have your entire quote. Now, if we wanted to, we could go ahead and get that ready to be printed off. You see that the MSRP goes away. Now you could print this off, export it to Excel. If you wanted to be able to pull that into your own billing system, you could do that. Another thing is being able to pull off the bill of materials. So again, this is huge because even though all of us, we're going to sit here and talk about the P3717, whenever we register this project with one of our distributors, they want to know the 01241-001, which I would never be able to memorize that part number. And I don't want to flip through, again, all the spec sheets to get that. Now, all I have to do is click export the BOM file. And now I can send that over and they can register the project for us. Makes it very, very simple and easy. We have a bandwidth report if your end customer is very interested in seeing the bandwidth. But I also talked about my installation report. Again, I love this tool because it shows you everything that you need to install. So you can see, here's our backdoor. We need a P3717. With our M42, you see that we're mounting on a brick to bring our bits. And here's all of our accessories that we're bringing along with it. Now there's no question as to what the installation team needs before they go out on site. So even it shows if we have the camera plotted on the map, here's the way that they're supposed to be looking. So again, a whole lot of details are now available inside of this installation report. Now, also, if you haven't logged into Site Designer in a while, the system proposal is a new function as well. And what this does is this basically pulls in all of the options or all of the descriptions for each of the cameras and pieces that you added to the solution. So if you're trying to pull together, again, a great presentation, this type of information is going to be very important. So if somebody asks, well, why did you pick this solution? Well, here's a nice little definition from Axis as to why you'd want that. Now, one other thing that was also recently added in, as you can tell, there's a lot being done with Site Designer, is that we can go through and download all of the data sheets for all of the Axis products. So again, whenever you've got that big presentation and you want to show all the details as to why you selected every camera, we could go through, say select all, we download our selections, and now that'll download a zip file, and that will show us the spec sheets for our cameras as well as our recording. So very, very powerful tool whenever we talk about Site Designer. But I did tell you there was my favorite piece whenever we were talking about the auto configuration tool. So I want to show you how that works. So all I have to do is come back up to my project overview, and you can see I have this button that says share. And I can either generate a code, and if I generate that code, I just give that to my installation technician, and they can, on a system that has internet connectivity, input that code and be able to configure their cameras. In this case, let's say I'm going to a site where I don't have internet connectivity for some reason. I can still auto-configure the entire system. All I have to do is download this settings file. So you can see I have Mitch's project.asds, our Axis Site Designer settings. And I actually happen to have Camera Station up and running and ready to add some cameras in. So if I bring this over here, we'll give it a second to stabilize. And now all I have to do, you can see I've got a number of different cameras that I want to go through and add, but I selected those P3717s and the 19 for a specific purpose. So now if I click on multiple of our cameras, you can see that we do get a thumbnail here. I can go through and add those in, and whenever it says, do you want a quick configuration or a Site Designer? I want to do a Site Designer configuration. And we can either import our access code that I talked about or choose the file. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the file. I'm going to come over here to my downloads folder. I'm going to come over here to my downloads folder. There we go. And we see there's Mitch's project. I import that. And now you can see I get a nice little clean interface. And one of the things I want to point out here, you see the P3719, that's automatically assigned new camera because I only had one P3719 on the project. But I happen to have two P3717s. So now you can see I can have either the hallway or the back door. So if I hover over, I can get a thumbnail and say, okay, I know that that one is definitely the back door. So we'll assign that one as the back door. And this is my hallway. Now all I have to do is click install, and it will go through and again configure the name, the recording profile, the frames per second, the resolution, the days of storage, and even the recording schedule. All of that will be done in a matter of just, as you see, seconds, instead of having to go through and do all those configurations on all those cameras individually. This, if you want to talk about time savings, this is the biggest and best piece for you. So I now see that we've got about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up my demo. So I'm going to hop back over into our slides. And the big question, our next poll question is, have I piqued your interest? Are you interested in being contacted by an Access representative to talk to you a whole lot more? Again, I just scratched the surface with Integrator Suite. I just scratched the surface with Camera Station and with Companion. So if you want to learn more about any of the things that I've talked to today, or just our cameras and our technology in general, click yes, and we'll have and make sure that we get an Access representative in contact with you. All right, so now we'll move on, and I'm going to go ahead and open it up for a Q&A for any questions that you might have.
Hi, Mitch. Okay, we've got a few questions here. The
All right.
first one, when you added additional items such as the scissor lift and labor, where did you add the costs associated with these items?
So that will come in at the very last step. Whenever I was showing you the sales quotation at the very end, you actually have to go through and enter that manually. So how all of the Access devices had their MSRP that I could copy over. Obviously, there's not an MSRP option with the third-party devices, but there is a little option there for you to be able to just manually enter how much ever you want to charge for that.
Thank you. Everyone, I want to remind you that if you click that Q&A button at the bottom of your control panel, you can pose your questions. And on Facebook Live, if you comment us, we'll get those questions over to Mitch. Does 2N integrate with ACS?
Yes. So this is one of the cool things that's happened over the past couple months. We now have a full integration with 2N. So whenever you have a 2N device, that is now a core license, and it gets pulled in just like one of our door stations. So it'll automatically configure all of the audio and be able to pull in the action rule for being able to release a door. So yeah, now we had to wait a little bit to get it done, but we're very excited to have that in and ready to go.
Where can integrators access the Integrator Suite, and how much does it cost?
So again, Integrator Suite is all completely free to use the integrator. You can access Site Designer simply by going to sitedesigner.access.com, or you can navigate through our website to that under the Tools section. And all of the other pieces are embedded into Camera Station. Now, we also have a 30-day free demo download. So if you go to our website, you can download Access Camera Station, use it for 30 days. You can connect third-party devices, connect our devices. We don't set any limitations on the number of devices that you can connect. There's no restrictions on the functionality. You just get it for 30 days. So feel free to download it, try it out, let us know what you think. But all of the functionality I showed here today is available inside of that.
Thank you. What are there, if any, prerequisites for becoming an Access dealer?
So there are a few. I would have to point you to reaching out to your local Access representative. So if you want to send us your information, we will have an Access representative reach out to you. We have a full partner program that comes with benefits as well as requirements. So we'll be able to happily get you all of that information.
I'm going to give everybody just a moment longer to finish up any questions that they may have. Looks like that's all we have today, Mitch. I want to thank you. Thank Access. As many of you probably know, Access is a strategic partner of the association, meaning that they invest back in the industry for education, government advocacy, training, all of those things that we do to give back to the industry. Access is a partner to help facilitate that. We've got a few more. Will there be any information sessions for Access coverage shapes for Vizio?
So that is another great question. So that tool currently resides outside of Site Designer. So again, you would need to reach out to your local Access representative. They'll get you in touch with someone on probably one of our field sales engineers who are really well versed in the design piece, but that's not something that we currently have planned to cover with another ESA webinar yet.
One more. Does Site Designer allow you to use it for other manufacturers if the customer wants to mix and match the cameras they already have?
currently, no, we don't have a what I'll call a third party or a generic camera option to be able to input. Right now, it only works with our Axis cameras. But if you're looking from a VMS perspective, again, Milestone and Genetech have both already been brought into into Site Designer.
Okay. I think we've gotten that to everyone now. So thank you, Access. Thank you, Mitch. As a reminder, this session was being recorded, and we'll send you an email tomorrow with a link to that recording so you can rewatch or share with your colleagues. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.